Hey everyone, it's Binky Bunnies here again for the second time today. So yeah, thanks for clicking onto this video. And this is going to be an updated how to tame and bond with your rats. So the first thing that I would give you a tip on would be to make sure you have a big enough cage to ensure your rats are happy before you move on to the taming process. Obviously your rats don't want to be cramped into a tight space. They need to have freedom to run around and play in. And that is a number one tip before you start taming your rats. Obviously they need to be happy before as well. And make sure you have a cage with plenty of access. The rats are upstairs at the moment, so I'm just going to show you this level. Look how wide the doors open. And there's plenty of space for you to get into the cage and bond fully with your rats. Also, ensure that the cage is clean. Obviously your rats won't particularly like you if there's poo and urine around the cage. Obviously they need to be cleaned out regularly. I would say at least twice a week, unless your rats are litter trained. My rats are almost fully litter trained now. It's just the odd poop I find around the cage, and I just literally use a litter scoop and pop it back in, and then obviously clean the scoop after, as I've just poo-picked a couple of poos around the cage. The best way to win over your rat's heart is obviously food. What I've done with the food here, if I just take this out, I have a food scoop back there which is fully clean. I mix cornflakes, which is their favourite treat, a few cornflakes in with their rat nuggets, Pets at Home rat nuggets. And obviously, sometimes, like, when I was taming and bonding with my rats, I'd pick up a nugget before I fed them and hand feed it to them. And obviously then they'll associate you with food, what they love. So, yes. And again, with food comes treats. Obviously you don't want to feed too much treats. Still be aware of your rat's weight, because obviously your rats won't be very happy if they become overweight with you. So yes, I would recommend baby food. Obviously still watch with their weight and things like that, but putting it onto a spoon, a large metal spoon, scoop the baby food out with that, then literally hold it in the cage and the rats will come to it, and then obviously eat it off the spoon and things like that, and then obviously they know that you're feeding it to them. So that's another way of taming and bonding with the rats. What I've noticed as well, I knew that in the old cage that I had, which was the Liberta Discoverer, I think it was, yeah, Discoverer. When I didn't litter train them, we wasn't fully bonded, but they were fully tamed, but they weren't fully bonded with me. But now that I've started litter training them, obviously I'm spending more time with them. And obviously always checking around the cage, sorting the fleece out if it's ever like untucked from the corners and things like that. And I've got a pet hoover as well now, because obviously I'm not going to use my house hoover. The rest of the house is for all of the pet hair that's on the fleece. So I hoover the full cage, the fleece and the full cage, at least 4 times a day, to ensure that it's not filthy for them, and the cage gets cleaned out twice a week with new fleece. And in the shower and things like that, it's fully showered down. Near enough the same way that I clean the iMac Fantasies out with, if you've seen the cage cleaning for that. If not, please watch it, obviously. So the rats are quite sleepy today. they're still building up on that long playtime they had yesterday. But yeah, leading up from playtime is another way to bond with your rats completely. Because obviously they love playtime, they love their freedom and things like that. A new area to sort of run around in, and also having a few toys there and things like that. And also, if they're litter trained, pop the litter tray where they play around in. But Dumbo and the Sputnik. Dumbo! So yeah, I'm not really going to disturb the rats too much today, but Dumbo's awake, but he's a little bit tired. Hi, boy. So as you can see, they're fully tame. They're not running away from me when I try to stroke them and things like that. Yeah, they lick me. I suppose that's a good sign, which is another way to ensure that you're fully bonded with your rats. No. And also, yeah, petting is another way to bond with your rats. Can you see Dumbo's eyes now half closed? It means he likes that. Dumbo. So yeah, that's another way to fully bond with your rats. And I'm sure they love it as well. But yeah, I would totally recommend food as a number one bonding tip. So as you can see, this cage is huge, and also it's got plenty of toys in. Obviously, you need to have plenty of toys for rats. Rats are very active and playful creatures. They are nocturnal, as I've answered a girl's question that she's asked me before, if rats are nocturnal. Yes, they are nocturnal, but they can learn your schedule, as they are very clever. They like human company. They don't want to sleep all day and not see you at all and then just wake awake at night. They don't like that. You can go up to the cage. Obviously, I know that my rats are fully tired from the longer playtime yesterday, so I'm not really going to disturb them too much. Because obviously I don't want to give them any health problems through lack of sleep. So, but yes, rats can learn your schedule. Like if you saw in the cage tour that I was doing, they were coming out and things and greeting me down there. Because obviously they have learnt my schedule. They do love human interaction, so plenty of that. You should be with your rats at least 4 to 6 hours a day. So it is a big commitment if you own rats, or if you want to own rats. But yeah, as I was saying before, plenty of toys need to be in the cage, as your rats are very active, and plenty of sleeping areas. You should have at least one more sleeping area than the number of rats. So if you have 2 rats, you should have at least 3 sleeping areas. If you have 3 rats, at least 4 sleeping areas, and you should never just have a rat on its own, unless it's got very serious health conditions or does not get along with any other rat. But other than that, you should never buy a rat on its own or adopt a rat on its own. Because obviously they are social, you cannot replace a rat. So anyone that thinks, well, I'll just spend longer with my rat, you can't be with your rat 24 hours a day. It's impossible. You need to sleep yourself, obviously. And you can't like speak rat language. Obviously you cannot replace a rat. So also another step to taming and bonding with your rats is to have another companion rat in the cage for your rat, because it'll ensure he's healthier and happier, which is obviously step 1 to bonding with your rats. And yeah, try not to disturb your rats. If your rats are fully sleeping and things like that, do not disturb them, because obviously I don't think they won't really like you if you'd keep disturbing their sleep all the time. But yeah, I definitely recommend this cage for taming and bonding with rats. because obviously the access is brilliant. It doesn't put you off ever going to the rats or anything because you can't get into the cage. It is absolutely brilliant. You can get every square footage in this cage you can reach and get to. So yeah, it is a brilliant cage, and also it allows for storage underneath the cage too. And also you don't have to have the stand on if you want them to be at your level. But yeah, I would definitely recommend the treat method, the food. Rats love food, so obviously they're going to want that, and that's another way to bond with your rats. Also, just sitting here and talking to them, obviously you know that they don't understand you, but they do get used to your voice. Obviously they still can't understand you though, but they get used to your voice and know that you're not going to hurt them, if that makes sense. And also, another step to taming and bonding with your rats is to give them clean water and fresh food every single day, even if it's not finished. As you can see, that was topped up to the top this morning and they've drinking that much. They must have just been thirsty ratties today. Well, yeah. What were we going to say? Oh, yeah. When you first get your rats, a number one tip is to leave them for at least 48 to 72 hours, so 2 to 3 days at least, to ensure that they're fully settled before, obviously, they're going to be very stressed in the first 2 or 3 days, so they could possibly even bite you, even though it's not intentional. If they are stressed, they possibly will bite. None of my rats have bitten just yet. Obviously rats, they don't really, but I left them for 4 days, 3.5 to be precise, just to ensure that they're fully settled and stress free, because that is not a good way to tame with your rats. If you've had them for, I don't know, let's just say you've had them for a day and think, oh, they'll be fine now, go in, and then even though your rat might not bite or anything or show any signs of stress, you are affecting them, and obviously they don't want to be. That's not a good way to tame and bond with your rats. That is definitely not a good way. So at least 3 to 4 days, 2 or 3 days at least. I'd recommend 3. 3 days is about right, I'd reckon. 3 or more. Until you go and mess with your rats and go into the cage. Because obviously that is definitely not a good way to tame and bond with your rats. I can't think of anything else at the moment of bonding with your rats and taming them. Obviously, to tame your rats, they need to be handled at least 5-6 times a day for at least half an hour each is the recommended time. Within that 5 or 6 hours of spending time with your rats as well. They need to be handled a lot, just to ensure that they are fully tamed, and these guys are, and I hold them for that amount of time every single day. I spend that amount of time every single day. It is quite hard because of school and things, but I knew when I got rats I would have that in the way, and obviously I can't let that affect me. I can't let that affect them just because I've got school and things. I got the rats. I made a commitment. I need to stick to it. So if you're not prepared to spend at least 6 hours a day with your rats, do not get them. Please don't. You're going to affect your rats deeply. If you can't spend that amount of time, just don't bother. No matter how much you want them, I know it's going to be hard to be like, oh, I can't have them because just that the rats will be happier if they're in a home where they have that six hours of playtime. So yeah, that's the video. I just wanted to keep you all aware, and also I wanted to let you know how to tame and bond with your rats. Because obviously everyone wants to bond with their pets, any pet. So I hope them tips were very handy, and I hope they helped everyone out. Well, not everyone. I hope they helped a lot of people out, because obviously when I got my rats, I needed to know how to tame and bond with them. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.